Eleanor Brennan pressed her palm against the frozen stagecoach window and watched Wyoming Territory blur past in shades of white and gray. In her coat pocket, she carried 14 letters from a man named William Dawson. 14 letters filled with longing, with promises, with descriptions of 4 children who needed a mother. She didn't know yet that William Dawson had never written a single word. She didn't know that 4 desperate children had forged every letter, every signature, every promise. She was about to find out. If you want to follow Eleanor's journey to the very end, subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications. Drop a comment telling us which city you're watching from. We love seeing how far these stories travel. Now let's continue. The stagecoach lurched hard to the left. Eleanor grabbed the seat to steady herself, heart hammering against her ribs. "Easy there, ma'am." The driver's voice cut through the howling wind. "Elk Creek's just ahead. 10 more minutes." 10 more minutes until her new life began. Eleanor touched the letters in her pocket again. She'd memorized every word. The careful handwriting, the descriptions of Clara Hannah Benjamin and little Rosie, the quiet grief of a widower learning to hope again. "I ain't a man of fancy words, Miss Brennan, but I reckon I got room in my heart if you got room in yours." Those words had made her cry in her tiny Philadelphia boarding room. They'd given her the courage to sell everything she owned, buy a one-way ticket, and travel 2,000 miles to marry a stranger. The stagecoach hit a rut. Eleanor's teeth clacked together. "There she is," the driver called out. "Elk Creek, Wyoming Territory. End of the line." Eleanor peered through the frost-covered window. A small town emerged from the blizzard. A general store with a crooked sign. A church steeple dusted with snow. A saloon with warm light spilling from its windows. And on the platform, 4 children stood in a row. No man beside them. Eleanor's stomach dropped. The stagecoach groaned to a stop. The driver jumped down and yanked open the door. "Watch your step, ma'am. Ice everywhere." Eleanor descended carefully. The cold hit her like a physical blow. She pulled her thin coat tighter and scanned the platform again. 4 children, still no man. The oldest girl stepped forward. She was maybe 12, with blonde hair escaping from a wool cap and eyes too old for her face. "Miss Eleanor Brennan." "Yes." Eleanor's voice came out smaller than she intended. "I'm looking for Mr. William Dawson. He was supposed to meet me." The children exchanged glances. Quick, nervous. "I'm Clara Dawson." The girl's chin lifted. "These are my brother and sisters, Hannah Benjamin and Rosie. We've come to take you to the ranch." "But your father—" "Daddy's tending to a sick calf." Clara's words came too fast, rehearsed. "Couldn't leave it. He sent us instead." Eleanor looked at the younger children. A dark-haired girl of about 9 stood rigid, arms crossed, watching Eleanor with suspicious eyes. That must be Hannah. A boy of 7 or so kicked at the snow, avoiding eye contact. Benjamin. And a little one, maybe 5, clutched Clara's coat with both fists. "Are you our new mama?" the little one asked. "Rosie." Clara's face flushed red. "Hush now." "But you said—" "I said hush." Something felt wrong. Eleanor had survived enough hard years to recognize when people were hiding things. These children were hiding something big. "It's 6 miles to the ranch," Clara continued, gesturing toward a waiting wagon. "Storm's getting worse. We should go." Eleanor looked at the stagecoach. The driver was already unloading her single trunk. Her entire life fit in that trunk now. A few dresses, some books, her mother's Bible, the letters. She had $3 left, nowhere to go back to, no family waiting in Philadelphia. "All right." Eleanor picked up her carpet bag. "Take me to your father." The wagon ride was silent, except for the wind. Clara drove with surprising skill for a child. The horses knew the way, trudging through deepening snow with their heads down. Eleanor sat on the bench beside Clara. The younger children huddled in the wagon bed under a pile of quilts. Hannah hadn't said a single word. Benjamin kept sneaking glances at Eleanor, then looking away. Little Rosie had fallen asleep against her sister's shoulder. "The letter said your father raises cattle." Eleanor tried to break the tension. "Yes, ma'am. Herefords mostly." "And he served in the war?" Clara's hands tightened on the reins. "Union cavalry. He don't talk about it much." "The letters mentioned he was wounded. His shoulder. Gets stiff in the cold." Eleanor waited for more. Nothing came. "Clara?" She softened her voice. "Is something wrong?" The girl's jaw clenched. For a moment, Eleanor thought she might cry. "Everything's fine, Miss Brennan. Ranch is just up ahead." A farmhouse appeared through the swirling snow, small but solid. Smoke rising from the chimney, a barn, and several outbuildings clustered nearby. Lamplight glowed in the windows. It looked like the home she'd dreamed of. "It's beautiful," Eleanor whispered. Clara's voice cracked. "We cleaned it real good. Twice." The wagon pulled into the yard. Before they'd fully stopped, the barn door swung open. A man emerged. He was tall, broad-shouldered, dark hair silvered at the temples. His face was weathered handsome, in a worn way, with several days' worth of stubble, and eyes that looked like they hadn't slept in months. He carried an armload of firewood. When he saw the wagon, he froze. Those eyes locked onto Eleanor. Confusion first, then recognition, then something that looked like horror. "Clara." His voice was rough, low, dangerous. "Who is this?" The children scrambled out of the wagon. They lined up beside their sister like soldiers awaiting a verdict. Eleanor noticed Benjamin take Hannah's hand. Clara stepped forward. Her whole body trembled, but her voice held steady. "Daddy, this is Miss Eleanor Brennan, from Philadelphia." The firewood crashed to the ground. Logs scattered across the snow. "She's come to marry you." William Dawson stood motionless. His breath fogged in the cold air. "What did you say?" "We wrote to her daddy." Clara's voice shook now. "We used your name. Copied your signature from the store ledger. We've been writing her for months." "You've been—" William couldn't finish. He stared at Eleanor, then back at his children, then at Eleanor again. "This ain't happening." "Mr. Dawson." Eleanor stepped forward, fighting to keep her voice calm. "I can see you didn't know about this." "Didn't know." A harsh laugh escaped him. "Ma'am, I ain't written a letter in 2 years. I sure as hell didn't send for a bride." The words hit Eleanor like a slap. "The letters?" She reached into her pocket, pulled out the bundle tied with kitchen string. "These letters, they're not from you." William took them. His hands shook as he recognized the handwriting. Clara's handwriting. "Lord have mercy." He looked at his daughter. "Clara, what have you done?" "We needed help, Daddy." Clara's composure finally broke. Tears streamed down her face. "Rosie barely remembers Mama. Hannah won't talk to nobody. Ben's acting out 'cause you won't look at him. And I'm tired. I'm so tired of pretending everything's fine when nothing is." "So you lied? You forged my name. You brought a stranger into our home under false pretenses." "We brought someone who wanted to love us," Clara shouted. "Someone who answered our letters. Someone who came 2,000 miles because she believed you wanted her." The words echoed across the frozen yard. Eleanor stood perfectly still. The cold seeped through her thin coat into her bones. Everything she'd believed was a lie. The man before her hadn't written those beautiful words, hadn't dreamed of her, hadn't chosen her. 4 desperate children had. "I'm so sorry." William turned to Eleanor, and the anger in his face had shifted to something worse. Shame. "This is unforgivable. I'll pay your passage back. Tomorrow, if the weather clears. I can't apologize enough for what my children—" "You'll pay with what?" Eleanor's voice cut through his stammering. "Excuse me. I saw the bills stacked on that table through the window, Mr. Dawson. I recognize final notices when I see them. You'll pay my passage back with what money? William's jaw tightened. That ain't your concern. It is my concern. I spent everything I had getting here. Every penny. I've got $3 left and nowhere to return to. No job. No family. Nothing. That ain't my fault. No, it's not. Eleanor met his eyes. But it's where we are. So before you start making promises, you can't keep maybe we should go inside and figure this out like reasonable people. They stared at each other. Two strangers. Two people whose lives had just collided thanks to 4 children with more courage than sense. Please, Daddy. Little Rosie tugged at William's coat. It's cold, and Miss Eleanor looks frozen. Something in William's face cracked, just for a moment. Inside, he said roughly. All of you. The cabin was warm, clean, every surface scrubbed until it shone. Eleanor noticed details as she entered. Mended curtains with uneven stitches, a Christmas wreath made from pine branches and twine, a table set for 6, though only 5 people lived here. That 6th place setting made her throat tighten. Sit. William gestured to a chair. Coffee. Please. He moved to the stove. The children scattered to various corners of the room, pretending to be occupied with tasks while watching every move the adults made. William poured 2 cups, set one before Eleanor, sat down across from her. The fire crackled, wind howled outside. Tell me what they wrote, he said. Tell me what lies my children told. Eleanor took a sip of coffee. Hot, strong. It warmed her from the inside. They wrote about the ranch, the mountains, the winters here. She pulled a letter from the stack. They wrote about losing your wife to scarlet fever 18 months ago, about learning to raise 4 children alone. William flinched at the mention of his wife. They wrote about loneliness. Eleanor continued, about wanting someone to share the load, about being ready to love again. And you believed it. I believed it because I wanted to believe it. Eleanor set down the letter. I'm a widow, Mr. Dawson. My husband died in a mining accident 3 years ago. We had no children. I had no family. When I saw the advertisement, when I started receiving letters from a man who seemed kind and honest and in need of exactly what I could offer, you came running. I came hoping. William stared into his coffee. The firelight carved shadows across his face. I ain't ready to love again, he said quietly. I ain't ready for any of this. I'm not asking you to love me. His head came up sharply. I'm asking you to let me stay through Christmas. Eleanor kept her voice steady. For the children. They worked so hard to prepare. I won't ruin their holiday. And after Christmas? After Christmas we figure something out. Maybe I find work in town. Maybe I move on when the weather breaks. But right now, tonight, your children need to know they're not in trouble for loving you enough to do something this desperate. William was silent for a long moment. From the corner, Clara's quiet crying was the only sound. Fine. William's voice was rough. You stay through Christmas. We'll sort the rest after. He stood abruptly, grabbed his coat from the hook. Where are you going? Eleanor asked. Barn. Got animals to tend. He was out the door before she could respond. Eleanor sat alone at the table. 6 chairs, 6 place settings. One family that wasn't hers. She looked at the children huddled across the room. Clara wiping her tears. Hannah still glaring with suspicion. Benjamin looking like he wanted to bolt. Little Rosie sucking her thumb, exhausted and confused. Your father's angry, Eleanor said gently. And he has every right to be. What you did was wrong. Clara's face crumbled further. But, Eleanor continued, it was also brave, and I think it came from love. Am I right? Rosie broke away from her siblings. She crossed the room and climbed into Eleanor's lap without asking permission. Daddy's sad all the time, the little girl whispered. He don't smile no more. He don't read us stories like he used to. Clara says he's got a broken heart. Hearts can heal. Eleanor smoothed Rosie's tangled hair. It just takes time. Will you help fix him? The question was so earnest, so desperate that Eleanor had to blink back tears. I don't know, sweetheart, but I'm here for now. That's something, isn't it? Rosie nodded solemnly. From across the room, Hannah finally spoke. Her voice was cold. She ain't our mama. She's just some stranger. Hannah. Clara looked mortified. It's true. We don't know nothing about her. She could be anybody. Daddy's right to be mad. Eleanor met the girl's hostile gaze. You're right. You don't know me, and I don't know you. But I traveled 2,000 miles in good faith, and I'm stuck here now whether any of us like it or not. So maybe we could try being civil to each other. Hannah's jaw set. Without another word, she turned and walked up the narrow stairs. A door slammed somewhere above. She misses Mama the most, Benjamin said quietly. First words he'd spoken all day. She's got a sketchbook full of pictures of her. Draws her every night so she don't forget her face. Eleanor's heart ached at that. A child desperate to remember a mother who was slipping away. It's late, Clara said, wiping her face and trying to recover her composure. I'll show you to your room, Miss Brennan. Eleanor, or Ellie if you prefer. Clara almost smiled. This way, Miss Eleanor. The bedroom was small but comfortable. A quilt covered the narrow bed. A wash basin sat on a simple dresser. Someone had placed a mason jar of dried flowers on the windowsill. We picked those last summer, Clara said from the doorway. Wanted your room to look nice. Eleanor touched the brittle petals. Sunflowers, daisies, wild roses. They're beautiful. Clara lingered. She had more to say. Eleanor waited. I know what we did was wrong. The girl's voice trembled. I know Daddy might never forgive us, but I watched him disappear for 18 months, Miss Eleanor. I watched him turn into a ghost. We all did. I understand. He used to laugh. Used to swing Rosie around till she squealed. Used to help Ben with his chores and tell Hannah her drawings were pretty. Clara's eyes filled again. Now he just exists. He gets up, he works, he comes home, he goes to bed. He ain't living, he's just not dying. Eleanor's throat tightened. When Mama died, she made him promise to take care of us. And he does. He feeds us and clothes us and keeps a roof over our heads. But she'd want more than that for us, for him. She'd want us to be happy. You were trying to save him. Clara nodded miserably. I thought if someone came, if someone could love him again, maybe he'd wake up. Eleanor crossed to the girl, put her hands on those thin, trembling shoulders. You're 12 years old, Clara. This shouldn't be your burden to carry. There ain't nobody else. Those 4 words broke Eleanor's heart. She pulled Clara into a hug. The girl resisted for a moment, then collapsed against her, sobbing. I'm so tired, Clara wept. I'm so tired of being the grown-up. I know, sweetheart. I know. Eleanor held her until the tears subsided, until Clara pulled back embarrassed, wiping her face with her sleeve. I'm sorry. I shouldn't. Never apologize for having feelings. Eleanor cupped the girl's face. You've been so strong. It's all right to not be strong sometimes. Clara nodded shakily. Good night, Miss Eleanor. Good night, Clara. The girl slipped away. Eleanor heard her footsteps on the stairs, then murmured voices as she checked on her siblings. Eleanor sank onto the bed. The quilts smelled of lye soap and cedar. Someone had warmed a brick and placed it under the covers at the foot. Such small kindnesses from children who had nothing to give. She pulled the letters from her pocket, read them again in the lamplight. I got 4 young ones who need a mama something fierce. Clara's 12 going on 30. Hannah's 9 and quiet as a church mouse. Ben's 7 and wild as a spring colt. Rosie's 5 and asks about her mama every night. Clara had written this. Clara had poured her heart onto paper pretending to be her father. I ain't much of a catch, I'll be honest. I got a ranch that's barely holding on and a heart that's been broken too. But I got love to give Miss Brennan. If you got room in your life for a broken family, maybe we could be broken together. Eleanor's eyes burned. Broken together. She blew out the lamp and lay in the darkness. Through the thin walls, she could hear movement. Clara settling the younger children. A door closing. Then silence. And from somewhere below the creak of the front door. Footsteps. The thump of boots being removed. William had come in from the barn. She heard him moving through the house, checking locks, banking the fire. The sound of a chair scraping back. Then nothing. He was sitting down there alone, in the dark, the way he probably sat every night. Eleanor closed her eyes and listened to the wind howl outside. She thought about the journey that had brought her here. The hope, the fear, the desperate gamble of leaving everything behind for a dream. The dream had been a lie, but the need behind it, the loneliness, the longing, the desperate wish for family and belonging, that was real. In those letters, 4 children had spoken truths their father couldn't say. Maybe that was worth something. Maybe that was worth staying for. Eleanor woke to a crash. She bolted upright, heart pounding. Gray dawn light filtered through the window. Another crash, from downstairs. Then raised voices. She threw on her dress, didn't bother with shoes, and ran down the stairs. The kitchen was chaos. Benjamin stood by the stove, face white with terror. A pot of what had been oatmeal lay splattered across the floor. Smoke billowed from a pan of burning bacon. William stood in the middle of it all, surveying the disaster. "I was just trying to help," Benjamin's voice cracked. "I was gonna make breakfast before everybody woke up. You almost burned down the house. I didn't mean to." Clara rushed down the stairs, Hannah and Rosie behind her. Everyone started talking at once. "What happened? Is something on fire? I smell burning. Enough." The single word from William silenced everyone. He stood there breathing hard, fists clenched at his sides. For a long moment, no one moved. Then Eleanor stepped forward. "Mr. Dawson, I'll handle this. This ain't your... You look like you haven't slept." Her voice was calm, firm. "Go tend to your animals. I'll clean up and get breakfast sorted." Their eyes locked. A battle of wills. Then William's shoulders sagged. The fight went out of him. "Fine." He grabbed his coat and hat. "I'll be in the barn." He was gone before anyone could respond. Eleanor turned to the children. Benjamin looked like he might cry. First things first. She crossed to the stove, moved the burning pan off the heat. Lesson 1, bacon cooks slow. Oatmeal needs constant stirring. And the most important rule of all. She took the pot from Benjamin's trembling hands. Nobody learns without making a mess first. Benjamin blinked at her. "You ain't mad." "I'm impressed. You were trying to help your family. That took guts." She ruffled his hair. "Now, who wants to learn how to make breakfast properly?" For a moment, no one moved. Then Rosie raised her hand. "Me, I want to crack the eggs." "You'll get shell in 'em," Hannah muttered. "I won't." "You always do." "Enough." But Eleanor was smiling now. "Everyone gets a job. Clara, find me a mop. Benjamin, scrape up this oatmeal. Hannah, you're on egg duty, show Rosie how it's done. And Rosie, you can stir the new oatmeal but gently, like you're petting a kitten." The children stared at her. "Well..." Eleanor tied on an apron. "Let's move. Your father's going to be hungry when he comes back, and we're going to show him what this family can do." Something shifted in the room. Clara picked up a mop. Benjamin grabbed a rag. Even Hannah grudgingly moved toward the eggs. And for the first time since Eleanor had arrived, something that wasn't fear, or guilt, or desperation flickered in those young faces. It might have been hope. "So, By the time William returned from the barn, the table was set. Bacon lay crisp on a platter, biscuits steamed in a basket. Eggs sat fluffy and golden on a serving dish. He stopped in the doorway. The children sat in their places. Clean faces, combed hair, waiting. Eleanor stood by the stove, a dish towel over her shoulder. "The children helped," she said. "They're quick learners." William's throat worked. He looked at his children, at the table, at the sixth chair, empty and waiting. "Sit down, Daddy." Rosie patted the chair beside her. "Before it gets cold." Something in William's face wavered. He hung up his coat, removed his hat, walked to his chair like a man approaching something he wasn't sure was real. He sat. The children held their breath. "Grace?" Clara prompted softly. William bowed his head. His voice came out rough. "Lord, thank you for this food, for these children, for—" He paused. "For folks who show up when they're needed, even when nothing makes sense. Amen." "Amen," the children chorused. Plates were passed. Food was served. Rosie chattered about the eggs she'd helped crack. Benjamin described how Eleanor had taught him about bacon. Even Hannah spoke briefly to correct her brother about which pan to use. It wasn't comfortable. It wasn't family. But it was a start. And when William caught Eleanor's eye across the table, a look of confusion and grudging gratitude, and something else he couldn't name, she simply nodded. They had 3 days until Christmas. 3 days to figure out what came next. 3 days to decide if this broken collection of strangers could become something more. Outside, the snow continued to fall. Inside, 6 people sat at a table meant for 5. And for the first time in 18 months, William Dawson didn't eat alone. The days that followed settled into an uneasy rhythm. Eleanor woke before dawn each morning. She learned where Clara kept the flour, how Benjamin liked his eggs, which corner of her plate Hannah pushed her food to when she wasn't hungry. She learned that Rosie talked in her sleep and that William left for the barn before anyone else stirred. He was avoiding her. She knew it. The children knew it. But the work of keeping a household running left little time for confrontation. On the 3rd morning, Eleanor found Clara in the kitchen before sunrise. The girl stood at the counter, hands shaking as she tried to knead bread dough. "You're up early." Clara jumped. "Couldn't sleep." Eleanor moved beside her, took the dough gently. "Your hands are too tense. Bread knows when you're scared, makes it tough." "I ain't scared." "Clara?" The girl's shoulders dropped. "Fine, I'm terrified. Daddy barely looks at us. Hannah won't talk to nobody. And you're leaving after Christmas." Eleanor worked the dough with practiced hands. "Who said I was leaving?" "You said you'd stay through Christmas. Christmas is in 3 days." "I said we'd figure something out after Christmas. That's not the same thing." Clara looked up. Hope flickered in her eyes, quickly suppressed. "Don't say things you don't mean, Miss Eleanor. We've had enough of that." "I don't say things I don't mean." They worked in silence for a moment. Then Clara spoke again. "Mama used to make bread every Saturday. The whole house smelled like heaven. Daddy would come in from the barn and just stand there breathing it in, smiling like a fool. That's a beautiful memory. I can't remember her face sometimes." Clara's voice cracked. "I try and it just slips away, like water through my fingers." Eleanor's hands stilled on the dough. "That's normal, sweetheart. It doesn't mean you loved her less. Feels like betrayal. It's not. It's just how memory works." Eleanor resumed kneading. "But that's why we tell stories. That's why we keep traditions, so the important parts stay alive." Clara was quiet. Then, "Will you teach me the bread I mean, properly?" "I'd like that very much." The girl almost smiled. Almost. The back door banged open. William stomped in, bringing cold air and tension. "Clara, barn, now. That fence ain't gonna mend itself." "Yes, Daddy." Clara fled without looking back. William poured himself coffee, avoiding Eleanor's eyes. She's 12 years old, Eleanor said quietly. She shouldn't be mending fences in this cold. She's a rancher's daughter. Work is work. She's also exhausted. She's been running this household since her mother died. William's cup hit the counter hard. You don't know anything about this family. I know your daughter cries herself to sleep. I know your son acts out because you won't look at him. I know your youngest is forgetting her mother's face and it's breaking her heart. Stop. I know Hannah draws pictures of her mother every night because she's terrified of forgetting. And I know you've been so lost in your own grief that you can't see your children drowning right in front of you. William turned. His eyes were red, his jaw tight. You've been here 3 days. 3 days. You don't get to tell me about my children. Someone needs to. Get out. Excuse me. Get out of my kitchen. Go do whatever it is you do. Just leave me alone. Eleanor untied her apron, set it on the counter. Running away won't bring her back, Mr. Dawson, and it's killing the children you promised to protect. She walked out before he could respond. Behind her, she heard the sound of breaking ceramic, coffee cup against wall. She didn't look back. Eleanor found Benjamin in the chicken coop sitting among the hens feeding them from his palm. Shouldn't you be helping Clara with the fence? The boy shrugged. She said I was in the way. Eleanor settled onto an overturned bucket. The cold seeped through her skirts. Mind if I sit with you? Another shrug. I had chickens once, Eleanor said. Back in Philadelphia. Just 3 of them. Named them after saints. That's dumb. Probably. But Saint Martha laid the best eggs. Despite himself, Benjamin's lips twitched. We got one named Biscuit. She's mean as a snake, but she's my favorite. Which one's Biscuit? Benjamin pointed to a brown hen with a crooked beak. Found her as a chick. Mama let me raise her in a box by the stove. Your mama sounds like she was kind. She was. Benjamin's voice went small. She used to sing while she worked. Songs from Ireland. Her grandma taught her. Do you remember any of them? Some. Clara remembers more. Eleanor waited. The boy needed to talk. She could feel it. I broke Mama's teacup, he said suddenly. The day before she died. It was her favorite from her grandmother. I was running through the kitchen and I knocked it off the shelf. Benjamin? She wasn't even mad. She just picked up the pieces and said things break sometimes, but love don't. His voice cracked. Next day she was gone, and I never got to say sorry. Eleanor's heart shattered. Sweetheart, look at me. Benjamin's eyes were full of tears. Your mother knew you were sorry. Mothers always know. And I promise you she wasn't thinking about a teacup. She was thinking about you, about how much she loved you. You don't know that. I know what it's like to lose someone. Eleanor's voice was gentle but firm. And I know that the last thing they'd want is for us to carry guilt forever. Your mama loved you, Benjamin. A broken cup couldn't change that. Nothing could. The boy lunged forward, buried his face in Eleanor's shoulder. She held him while he cried 7 years of pain pouring out in great heaving sobs. When the storm passed, he pulled back, wiped his nose on his sleeve. Don't tell nobody I cried. Our secret. Benjamin nodded, then quietly. You ain't so bad, Miss Eleanor, for a stranger. You're not so bad yourself, for a troublemaker. He almost grinned. The wagon pulled into the yard just before noon. Eleanor looked up from the washing she was hanging. A woman climbed down, bundled in a thick coat, her gray hair tucked under a practical bonnet. Well, well. The woman marched toward Eleanor with the confidence of someone who owned every room she entered. So you're the mystery lady. I'm Eleanor Brennan. Margaret Fuller. Folks call me Maggie. Sharp eyes swept over Eleanor. Run the general store in town. Knew Sarah Dawson since she was knee-high. Been watching over this family best I can. It's nice to meet you. Ain't decided if it's nice or not yet. Maggie crossed her arms. Whole town's talking about you. Bride shows up that nobody knew was coming. Got people wondering what exactly is going on out here. Mrs. Fuller. Miss, never married, never saw the point. Maggie's gaze sharpened. So, you here to take advantage of a grieving man gold digger looking for easy pickings. There's nothing easy about this situation, I assure you. Then explain it to me. Because from where I'm standing, something don't add up. Eleanor hesitated. The truth would expose the children, but lies had caused enough damage. The children wrote to me, she said quietly. They used their father's name. He didn't know until I arrived. Maggie stared. Then she burst out laughing. Lord Almighty, those little rascals. She shook her head. Clara's doing, I reckon. That girl's got more grit than sense. You're not angry. Angry. Maggie wiped her eyes. Honey, I've been praying for a miracle for this family. Didn't expect it to come in the form of a mail-order bride, but the Lord works in mysterious ways. I'm not sure I'm a miracle. You're here, ain't you? You're staying. Through Christmas. After that, Eleanor shrugged. I don't know. Maggie studied her for a long moment. Then she nodded. Come by the store tomorrow. I'll introduce you around proper. Give folks a chance to meet you before the rumors get too wild. I appreciate that. Don't appreciate me yet. Maggie started back toward her wagon. I'm reserving judgment, but I will say this. Sarah would have liked you. She always had a soft spot for women with backbone. She climbed up, took the reins. Tell William I said hello, and tell him to stop being a damn fool before he loses the best thing that's happened to him since Sarah died. The wagon rattled away. Eleanor stood in the cold clothes forgotten in the basket. For the first time since arriving, she didn't feel quite so alone. That evening, Eleanor sat with Hannah in the parlor. The girl hadn't spoken to her directly since the first night. But Eleanor had noticed her watching, assessing, waiting for Eleanor to fail some invisible test. Clara tells me you like to draw. Hannah's hand tightened on her sketchbook. So nothing. I think that's wonderful. You don't even know if I'm good. Doesn't matter if you're good. Matters if you love it. Hannah said nothing, but she didn't leave either. Eleanor picked up her mending. Let the silence stretch. Sometimes the best way to reach someone was to simply be present. After 10 minutes, Hannah spoke. Mama used to sit with me while I drew. She'd read or sew and I'd sketch. We didn't have to talk. Just be together. That sounds peaceful? It was. Hannah's voice was barely audible. I miss her so much it hurts to breathe sometimes. I know that feeling. No, you don't. You don't know anything. I lost my husband 3 years ago. Eleanor kept her voice steady. We were married 2 years. He died in a mining accident. They never found his body. Hannah looked up. Something shifted in her eyes. I thought we'd have children, grow old together, build a life. Eleanor threaded her needle. Instead, I got a telegram and an empty house, and years of loneliness. Is that why you came here? 'Cause you were lonely? Partly. I also came because I wanted to belong somewhere, to matter to someone. Hannah was quiet for a long moment. Then she opened her sketchbook, flipped to a page. This is her, my mama. Eleanor set down her mending, looked at the drawing. It was beautiful. Sarah Dawson smiled from the page captured in careful pencil strokes. Warm eyes, gentle face, a woman who had been deeply loved. She was beautiful. I draw her every day. Hannah's voice cracked. So I don't forget. May I? Eleanor held out her hand. Hannah hesitated, then passed the sketchbook over. Eleanor studied the drawings. Page after page of the same face, same gentle smile, same warm eyes. A daughter's desperate attempt to hold on to her mother. You have real talent, Hannah. These are extraordinary. Daddy won't look at them, says it hurts too much. Maybe someday he will, when he's ready. What if he's never ready? Eleanor handed back the sketchbook. Then you keep drawing anyway, for yourself, for your sisters and brother, for the day when he can finally look. Hannah clutched the book to her chest. You really think he'll want to, someday? I think your father loves you more than anything in this world. I think his heart is broken, and broken hearts take time to heal. But yes, Hannah, someday he'll want to see every single drawing. The girl nodded slowly. Then, so quietly, Eleanor almost missed it. Maybe you ain't so bad. High praise from you. Hannah almost smiled. Almost. Later that night, Eleanor came downstairs for water and found William at the table. He was staring at a letter. His hands shook. Mr. Dawson. He didn't look up, just pushed the letter toward her. Eleanor read it, then read it again. This is a notice of foreclosure. Bank in Cheyenne. I borrowed money 2 winters ago when the cattle got sick. Lost half the herd. Been paying what I can, but... He rubbed his face. Ain't been enough. They're calling in the loan. How much? $400. Due January 15th. Eleanor set down the letter. That's 6 weeks away. Might as well be 6 years. I ain't got $40, let alone $400. There must be something. There ain't. William's voice was hollow. I've been fighting this for months. Selling off cattle, cutting corners. Nothing's enough. Come January, they'll take the ranch. Take everything Sarah and I built. Everything I promised to leave our children. What about the neighbors? A loan. Already owe Maggie for last month's supplies. Doc Porter's been treating the kids on credit. Everyone's stretched thin. Eleanor sat down across from him. Who holds the note? Bank's run by a man named Victor Crane. City fella from back east. Bought up half the mortgages in the territory. He don't care about families or history, just numbers. Have you talked to him? Asked for more time? He came by last month. William's jaw tightened. Looked around like he was already picturing himself in my house. Told me I should have managed my affairs better. That's despicable. That's business. William laughed bitterly. Sarah used to handle the books. She was smart about money. Me, I'm just good with cattle and horses. After she died, I didn't... You were grieving. I was failing. Am failing. Gonna lose everything she worked for. Eleanor looked at this man, broken, exhausted, drowning in guilt and grief and debt. There has to be a way. There ain't. I've looked at it from every angle. He stood abruptly. Go to bed, Miss Brennan. Ain't nothing you can do. Ain't nothing anyone can do. He grabbed his coat, headed for the door. Where are you going? Barn. Animals don't care if I'm broke. The door closed behind him. Eleanor sat alone in the kitchen. The foreclosure notice lay on the table. 6 weeks. $400. A family about to lose everything. She should walk away. This wasn't her problem. These weren't her people. But she thought of Clara kneading bread with shaking hands, of Benjamin crying in the chicken coop, of Hannah drawing her mother's face night after night, of little Rosie asking if Eleanor would be her new mama. She thought of William out in that cold barn carrying the weight of his failures alone, and she made a decision. The next morning, Eleanor rose before dawn. She dressed in her best traveling clothes, the ones she'd worn on the stagecoach. Then she went to find Clara. I need to go to town. Clara looked up from the stove. Maggie's store? The bank. Clara's face went pale. You know about the money? Your father told me last night. How long have you known? Months. The girl's voice was small. Found the letters hidden in Daddy's desk. That's part of why we wrote to you. We thought maybe if he wasn't so alone, he could fight harder. Clara, look at me. The girl met her eyes. I'm going to do everything I can. I don't know if it'll be enough, but I need you to keep this household running while I'm gone. Can you do that? Yes, ma'am. And Clara, don't lose hope yet. This story isn't over. An hour later, Eleanor walked into the First Bank of Cheyenne. The building was grand. Too grand for this frontier town. A monument to someone's ambition. She approached the clerk. "I'd like to speak with Mr. Victor Crane." "Mr. Crane is a very busy man. Do you have an appointment?" "Tell him it's regarding the Dawson account." The clerk's eyebrow rose, but he disappeared into a back office. Minutes later, a man emerged. Victor Crane was tall, well-dressed, with cold eyes and a smile that didn't reach them. He looked Eleanor over like a buyer assessing merchandise. "Miss Brennan, Eleanor Brennan. And your connection to the Dawson account. I'm engaged to Mr. Dawson." Crane's smile widened. "Is that so? William didn't mention a fiancé?" "It's a recent development." "How convenient." Crane gestured to his office. "Please, let's discuss this privately." The office was opulent. Leather chairs, mahogany desk, a territorial map on the wall dotted with pins. "Let me be direct, Miss Brennan." Crane sat behind his desk. "The Dawson loan is in default. The property will be foreclosed on January 15th unless the full amount is paid." "I understand. I'm here to negotiate." "Negotiate?" Crane laughed. "With what exactly? Your charming personality." "With common sense." Eleanor kept her voice steady. "That ranch has been worked for 20 years. The land is good. The herd, though diminished, is strong stock. Foreclosing and reselling will net you perhaps $300 after expenses. Allowing the loan to be restructured could net you $400 plus interest over time." Crane leaned back. "You've done your research." "I'm a practical woman." "Practical?" He studied her. "And what exactly are you proposing?" 6 more months, same interest rate, monthly payments instead of lump sum. And if he defaults again, then you foreclose in July instead of January. The land will be easier to sell in summer anyway." Crane was quiet. His fingers tapped the desk. "You're clever, Miss Brennan. Clever and beautiful. A dangerous combination. Is that a yes?" "That's a, let me think about it." He stood. "I'll have an answer for you by week's end." "Christmas Eve." "Fitting, isn't it?" His smile turned predatory. "The season of miracles." Eleanor stood. "Thank you for your time, Mr. Crane." "Oh, Miss Brennan." He caught her arm as she passed. His grip was too tight. "A word of advice. William Dawson is a broken man running a failing ranch. Whatever fairy tale you've constructed in your head, I suggest you wake up. Some things can't be saved." Eleanor pulled her arm free. "And some people shouldn't be underestimated." She walked out without looking back. Her hands didn't stop shaking until she was halfway home. Eleanor didn't tell William about the meeting. There was nothing to tell yet, just a gamble that might not pay off. But something had shifted in the house. She could feel it. Benjamin started following her around, asking questions about Philadelphia, about cooking about the chickens she'd named after saints. Hannah still kept her distance, but she'd stopped glaring. Rosie had taken to climbing into Eleanor's lap at every opportunity, and Clara was learning to be a child again, slowly, reluctantly, but learning. On the 4th evening, a blizzard struck. The wind came first, then the snow falling so thick and fast that Eleanor couldn't see the barn from the kitchen window. William came in from securing the animals covered in white, his lips blue with cold. "Gonna be a bad one," he said. "Nobody goes outside until it passes." "How long?" "Day, maybe 2. They were trapped, all 6 of them, in a cabin that suddenly felt very small. The first night passed quietly. Eleanor told stories by the fire while the wind screamed outside. The children huddled close, even Hannah listening to tales of Philadelphia and train rides and a life so different from their own. William sat in his chair pretending to read, but Eleanor caught him watching, listening. Something in his face that might have been longing. The second day tension crept in. The children grew restless. Benjamin and Hannah fought over a toy. Rosie cried because she couldn't go outside. Clara tried to keep the peace and snapped at everyone. By afternoon, Eleanor's patience was fraying. Then she noticed Benjamin was gone. "Where's your brother?" Clara looked up. "He was just here." "Benjamin," Eleanor called. Silence. "Benjamin." She checked upstairs, the back room, the root cellar. Nothing. "His coat's gone." Hannah's voice was tight. "And his boots." Eleanor's blood went cold. "He went outside." "In this—" Clara's face drained of color. "He'll freeze to death." William was already moving, grabbing his coat, his hat, a rope. "Stay here," he ordered. "Don't open this door for anyone but me. I'm coming with you. Like hell you are. That boy is out there because he's been invisible to you for months, because he breaks things trying to get your attention and you just yell and walk away." Eleanor grabbed her coat. "I'm coming." Their eyes locked, a battle of wills. Then William nodded once, tied one end of the rope to the porch post, handed Eleanor the other end. "Stay connected, no matter what." They plunged into the white. The cold was unimaginable. Eleanor couldn't see William, even though he was 3 feet ahead. The rope was her only connection to anything real. "Benjamin." William's voice was swallowed by the wind. "Benjamin." They fought through drifts that reached Eleanor's waist. Each step was agony. Her lungs burned, her eyes streamed. "The old shed," William shouted. "He likes to hide there." They changed direction. Eleanor's fingers were numb. She couldn't feel the rope anymore. Then she saw it. A shape in the white. The shed. William reached the door first, yanked it open. Benjamin lay in the corner, curled in a ball, shaking violently. "Daddy!" The boy's voice was weak. "I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I just wanted to find Biscuit. She got out and I couldn't." William gathered his son in his arms. "Quiet now. Save your breath. Is he hurt?" Eleanor knelt beside them. "His ankle. Think he twisted it." William's voice cracked. "We gotta get him back, now." The journey back was nightmare. William carried Benjamin. Eleanor held the rope, guided them through the impossible white. Twice she fell. Twice she got up. When they finally burst through the cabin door, Clara screamed. "Is he dead? Is he—" "He's alive." William laid Benjamin on the couch. "Get blankets, warm water, now." The next hour was chaos. Eleanor worked on instinct, warm cloths, careful removal of wet clothes, friction to restore circulation. Benjamin's teeth chattered so hard she feared they'd break. Rosie cried in the corner. Hannah held her white-faced and silent, and William. William knelt beside his son, gripping the boy's hand, tears streaming down his face. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I'm so sorry, Ben. I've been so lost. I didn't see you. But I see you now, son. I see you. Stay with me. Please stay with me." Benjamin's eyes fluttered open. "Daddy." "I'm here. I'm right here. I found Biscuit before I fell." The boy managed a weak smile. "She's in the shed. Safe." William laughed. A broken, sobbing laugh. "Of course you did. That's my boy. That's my brave, stupid, wonderful boy." He gathered Benjamin close, held him like he'd never let go. And something in the room shifted. Rosie crept forward, climbed into the pile. Then Hannah. Then Clara. 5 Dawsons huddled together on a couch, holding each other. Eleanor stepped back. This was their moment, their family. But then Clara's hand reached out, found Eleanor's. "You saved him," the girl whispered. "You went out there with Daddy. You saved him. Your father did the carrying. You showed him the way." Clara pulled. Eleanor resisted. "Come on," Rosie said. "You're family now." Eleanor's throat closed. She couldn't speak. But she let them pull her in. And for one moment in the warmth of that cabin, while the storm raged outside, 6 people held each other. Not strangers anymore. Something more. Later, after the children were finally asleep, Eleanor sat by the fire. Her hands still shook. Her body ached. William appeared, sat in the chair beside her. For a long moment, neither spoke. "Thank you." His voice was rough. "For going out there with me. For not letting me go alone." "Someone had to keep you tethered." "I mean it, Eleanor." First time he'd used her given name. "I was scared. More scared than I've been since Sarah died. And having you there, I was scared too. But you came anyway." "I did." He stared into the flames. "I've been a fool. These past months, this past year and a half, hiding in my grief, letting my children raise themselves, letting Clara carry burdens no child should carry. You were hurting. That ain't an excuse." He turned to face her. "You've been here less than a week. You've done more for my children in that time than I have in 18 months. "That's not true." "It is true. Benjamin talked to me tonight. Really talked. Told me about the teacup, about thinking it was his fault somehow. About how you held him in the chicken coop while he cried." Eleanor looked away. "Hannah showed me her drawings. First time since Sarah died. Said you told her to keep drawing even if I wasn't ready to look." His voice broke. "Clara laughed yesterday, really laughed. I hadn't heard that sound in so long I'd forgotten what it was." "William, I don't know what you are, Eleanor Brennan. Don't know if you're an angel or a fool or just a woman in the wrong place at the right time. But I know one thing." He reached over, took her hand. His fingers were rough, calloused, warm. "I don't want you to leave." Eleanor's heart stopped. "I ain't asking for... I don't expect..." He struggled for words. "But the children need you. And maybe I need you too. Not like a husband should. I ain't ready for that. But like a partner, a friend, someone to help me find my way back." Eleanor looked at their joined hands, at this broken man who was finally tentatively reaching out. "I'm not going anywhere, William." He let out a breath, long, shaky. "We got a lot to figure out. The ranch, the debt, what this even is between us. We'll figure it out together. Together." He tested the word. "I ain't said that in a long time. Get used to it." For the first time since she'd arrived, William Dawson smiled. It was small, fragile, barely there, but it was real, and Eleanor held on to it like a promise. The blizzard broke on Christmas Eve morning. Eleanor woke to silence. No howling wind, no rattling windows, just the soft creak of the cabin settling and the distant sound of children whispering. She dressed quickly and descended to find all 4 children huddled near the tree speaking in urgent hushed tones. "What's going on?" They scattered like startled birds. "Nothing," Rosie squeaked, hiding something behind her back. "We were just..." Clara struggled. "Planning." "Planning what?" "Christmas surprises." Benjamin grinned. "You can't know." Eleanor raised an eyebrow. "I see. And these surprises wouldn't happen to involve the kitchen, would they?" Guilty looks all around. If anyone attempts breakfast without supervision, there will be consequences. Eleanor moved toward the stove. "Now, who wants to help me make something special for your father?" 2 hours later, William came in from the barn to find the cabin transformed. Not with decorations, those had been up for days, but with smells. Fresh bread, cinnamon, something sweet baking in the oven, and sounds. Laughter. Real laughter echoing off the walls. He stopped in the doorway, watched his children gathered around Eleanor at the table flower, on their faces joy in their eyes. Clara was teaching Rosie to roll out dough. Hannah was actually smiling as she cut shapes with a tin cup. Benjamin was sneaking bites of something and pretending he wasn't. "Daddy," Rosie spotted him. "We're making Christmas cookies. Miss Eleanor says we can decorate them with sugar." "Is that so?" "And she's teaching us a song from Philadelphia about a partridge in a pear tree." William's throat tightened. "That sounds real nice, sweetheart." His eyes met Eleanor's across the room. She was covered in flour, her hair escaping its braid, looking nothing like the composed woman who'd stepped off that stagecoach. She looked like she belonged here. "There's coffee," she said quietly, "if you want it." "I want it." He poured a cup, sat at the table, and for the first time in 18 months, William Dawson let himself be part of his own family's happiness. The morning passed in a blur of baking and singing and controlled chaos. Benjamin ate so much raw dough that Eleanor warned he'd turn into a cookie. Rosie decorated her creations with more sugar than artistry. Hannah produced surprisingly beautiful designs, her artist's eye translating to the kitchen. And Clara relaxed. Let herself be 12. Let Eleanor handle the supervision, the cleaning, the gentle corrections. By noon, the cookies were cooling on every available surface. "We should deliver some to the neighbors," Clara suggested. "Mama always did that. Christmas Eve tradition." A shadow crossed William's face at the mention of Sarah, but he nodded. "That's a fine idea." "I'll take them," Eleanor offered. "You should rest that ankle." She nodded at Benjamin, whose foot was still wrapped from his blizzard misadventure. "I'll go with you," William said. Everyone stared. What man can't deliver cookies with his... He hesitated. "With Eleanor." Clara's face lit up. "We'll watch the little ones. Won't we, Hannah?" Hannah nodded slowly, something knowing in her eyes. 20 minutes later, William and Eleanor were in the wagon, a basket of cookies between them. The world was white and still. Fresh snow covered everything, making the territory look new. Clean. "I didn't know you could sing," William said after a while. "There's a lot you don't know about me." "Reckon that's true." He guided the horses around a drift. "So tell me something." "Like what?" "Like anything. Where'd you grow up? What were your folks like? Why'd you answer a stranger's advertisement for a bride?" Eleanor was quiet for a moment. "I grew up in Pennsylvania, small town outside Philadelphia. My father was a school teacher. My mother died when I was young." "I'm sorry." "It was a long time ago." She adjusted the basket in her lap. "Father raised me alone, taught me to read, to think, to question everything. He died when I was 16. And then I survived. Worked as a governess, then a seamstress. Met Daniel at a church social. Married him 6 months later." "You loved him?" "Very much. He was kind, steady, made me feel safe." Her voice softened. "When he died, I thought my life was over. Spent 3 years just existing. Going through the motions." William nodded slowly. "I know that feeling." "I know you do." They rode in silence for a moment. "Why the advertisement?" William asked again. "Why come all the way out here for a stranger?" Eleanor considered the question. "Because I was tired of being alone, tired of waking up in an empty room with no one to talk to, no one who needed me. I wanted to matter to someone again. And now I matter to 4 children who need a mother." She turned to look at him. "And maybe to a man who's learning to let himself live again." William's hands tightened on the reins. "Eleanor, you don't have to say anything. I'm not asking for promises." "What are you asking for? Time? Patience?" She met his eyes. "A chance to see where this goes." William held her gaze for a long moment. Then he nodded. "I reckon I can manage that." The first stop was Maggie Fuller's store. The older woman took one look at them arriving together and burst into a grin so wide, Eleanor feared her face might crack. "Well, well, look what the snow dragged in." "Merry Christmas, Maggie." William handed over a tin of cookies. Eleanor made 'em. Kids helped. Did they now? Maggie examined Eleanor with new appreciation. Got this family bacon together on Christmas Eve. That's more than anyone's managed in a year and a half. It was the children's idea. Uh-huh. Maggie wasn't fooled. Come inside. Got coffee on, and something I need to show you. The store was warm and cluttered, every surface covered with goods. Maggie led them to a small back room where a stove crackled. Heard back from some folks about your situation, Maggie said, pouring coffee. The debt. William stiffened. Maggie. Hush. I've been in this community 40 years. I know everyone's business and they know mine. Point is, people want to help. I can't take charity. Ain't charity. It's neighbors. Maggie pulled out a piece of paper. Tom Henderson offered $50, said you helped him rebuild his barn after that fire 3 years back. The widow Patterson's got 20 she's been saving. Doc Porter says he'll forgive your medical debt. That's another 35. Eleanor watched William's face. Shock. Shame. Something else she couldn't name. That's over $100, she said quietly. 105 to be exact. Maggie set down the paper. And I talked to Reverend Whitfield. He's putting out word at the Christmas service tomorrow. Reckon more folks'll come forward. I can't. William's voice cracked. I can't let people. You can and you will. Maggie's tone brooked no argument. Sarah was loved in this town. Those kids are loved. And folks are starting to see you might be worth loving too if you'd get your head out of your backside long enough to notice. Eleanor bit back a smile. William sat heavily in the nearest chair, put his head in his hands. I thought I was alone in this. Thought I had to fight it by myself. That's the stupidest thing you ever said. Maggie crossed her arms. And you've said some stupid things. She's right, Eleanor said gently. You're not alone, William. You never were. He looked up at her. His eyes were wet. How'd I get so lost? Grief does that. Eleanor knelt beside him. But you're finding your way back. That's what matters. The wagon ride home was quiet, but different from before. A weight had lifted. Not entirely, they were still short of the full amount, but the impossible had become merely difficult. Maggie said Victor Crane would have an answer by tonight, Eleanor ventured. William's jaw tightened. She told you about Crane. I went to see him, the day after the blizzard broke. The wagon jerked to a stop. William stared at her. You did what? I went to the bank. Proposed a restructuring of the loan. Monthly payments instead of a lump sum. Eleanor. He said he'd think about it. Give his answer by Christmas Eve. You went to Victor Crane, alone, without telling me. Would you have let me go if I'd told you? That ain't the point. It's exactly the point. Eleanor met his anger head on. You were drowning. Someone had to throw you a rope. I don't need you fighting my battles. Then start fighting them yourself. They glared at each other, breath fogging in the cold air. I'm not Sarah, Eleanor said, voice dropping. I'm not going to sit quietly and let you destroy yourself. If that's what you want in a wife, you found the wrong woman. William's anger flickered, shifted. I never asked you to be Sarah. Then stop treating me like I should act like her. Silence stretched between them. Then William laughed, harsh, surprised. You're the stubbornest woman I ever met. I learned from experience. Fightin' with me in the middle of the road on Christmas Eve. You started it. He shook his head. I started it. Lord help me. He picked up the reins. Fine. You went to Crane. What's done is done. But from now on, we fight these battles together. Understood? Understood. The wagon lurched forward. Stubbornest woman I ever met, William muttered again, but Eleanor caught the ghost of a smile on his lips. They were a mile from the ranch when the rider appeared. A man on horseback moving fast, cutting across the snow toward them. William tensed. That's one of Crane's men. The rider pulled up alongside the wagon. Young face, nervous eyes. Mr. Dawson, Mr. Crane sent me with a message. On Christmas Eve. He said you'd want to hear it immediately. The rider pulled an envelope from his coat. His answer, about the loan. Eleanor's heart hammered. William took the envelope, stared at it. Well, Eleanor couldn't breathe. Open it. His hands weren't quite steady as he broke the seal. Unfolded the paper, read. His face went white. William. He handed her the letter without a word. Eleanor read it, then read it again, certain she'd misunderstood. Mr. Dawson. After careful consideration, I have decided to reject your proposal for loan restructuring. Furthermore, I am accelerating the timeline for foreclosure. You have until January 1st to pay the full amount of $400 or the property will be seized. Additionally, I have learned that a woman claiming to be your fiancée visited my office. I find this development interesting. Should you wish to discuss alternative arrangements, I am available to meet at your convenience. Happy Christmas. Victor Crane. January 1st. Eleanor's voice shook. That's 1 week. He's playing games. William's jaw was tight. That bit about alternative arrangements, he wants something. What could he possibly want? I don't know. William crumpled the letter. But I intend to find out. William. Tomorrow, after Christmas service, I'm going to that bank and I'm going to look Victor Crane in the eye and find out what kind of devil I'm dealing with. I'm coming with you. Eleanor. Don't argue. We're partners now, remember? He held her gaze. Something fierce passed between them. Partners, he agreed. The wagon continued toward home, but Christmas Eve had lost its joy. They didn't tell the children. Eleanor watched William pace on. A smile, watched him read the Christmas story by the fire, watched him pretend everything was fine. But she saw the tension in his shoulders, the way his hands gripped the Bible too tight. Daddy. Rosie tugged his sleeve. Why do you look sad? I ain't sad, sweetheart. You look like you did before Miss Eleanor came, all gray and tired. William flinched. Rosie. Clara reached for her sister. Leave Daddy alone. It's all right. William pulled Rosie into his lap. I'm just thinking about how much I love you, all of you, how I'd do anything to keep you safe and happy. We are happy. Rosie snuggled against him. Miss Eleanor's here, and you're smiling more, and nobody's crying at night anymore. Nobody, well, Rosie considered. Sometimes Clara, but not as much. Clara's face reddened. I'm going to try harder, William said quietly. I'm going to be the daddy you deserve. I promise. You already are daddy. Rosie yawned. You just forgot for a while. She fell asleep in his arms before he could respond. William carried her to bed, tucked her in with the others, stood watching them sleep for a long moment. Eleanor found him there in the doorway of the children's room. They're so small, he whispered. So fragile. And I almost lost them. Not to the blizzard, to my own selfishness. You didn't lose them. I could have. He turned to face her. If you hadn't come, if Clara hadn't been brave enough to write those letters, I would have just faded away, become a ghost living in this house. But you didn't. Because of you. He took her hands. His palms were warm, rough with calluses. Because you showed up on that stagecoach and refused to leave. Because you fought for my children when I couldn't fight for them myself. William. I know we said no promises. I know it's too soon. His voice dropped. But I need you to know something. Whatever happens with Crane, with the ranch, with any of it, I'm grateful. For you. For this chance. Eleanor's eyes burned. I'm grateful too. He lifted her hand, pressed his lips to her knuckles, a gesture so tender it broke her heart. Merry Christmas, Eleanor. Merry Christmas, William. They stood there, hands clasped as the clock struck midnight. Christmas Day dawned bright and cold. The children woke early, buzzing with excitement. Simple gifts were exchanged. A whittled horse for Benjamin, new hair ribbons for the girls, a book of poetry Eleanor had found at the bottom of her trunk. For William, Eleanor had nothing. No gift to give except herself. But he looked at her like she was enough. The ride to church was crowded. All 6 of them packed into the wagon, children chattering, breath-fogging in the winter air. "Folks are gonna stare," Clara warned. "At Miss Eleanor, I mean." "Let them stare." William's voice was steady. "Got nothing to hide." The church was full. Every pew packed with families in their Christmas best. Heads turned as the Dawsons entered. Whispers followed them. Eleanor lifted her chin, walked beside William with her back straight. Maggie Fuller caught her eye from across the room. Nodded once. Approval. The service was simple. Hymns. Scripture. Reverend Whitfield's sermon about hope and redemption. Then at the end, the Reverend cleared his throat. "Before we close, I want to address something. Many of you know the Dawson family has been struggling. What you may not know is that they're facing the loss of their ranch." William stiffened. Eleanor gripped his arm. "Sarah Dawson was one of us," the Reverend continued. "Her children are ours, and while I understand William's pride, a meaningful look at the back pew. I believe there comes a time when community must step forward." He held up an envelope. "I'm passing a collection plate. Give what you can. Every dollar helps." The plate started moving. Coins clinked. Paper rustled. Eleanor watched, overwhelmed, as families dropped money into the growing pile. Farmers who had little themselves, widows on fixed incomes, children contributing pennies from their savings. By the time it reached the front, the plate was overflowing. Reverend Whitfield counted quickly. His eyebrows rose. $237. The congregation murmured. William stood. His voice shook. "I don't know what to say. I've been terrible at accepting help, terrible at letting people in. But this..." He looked at his neighbors, his community, the people he'd pushed away. "Thank you. From the bottom of my heart." "Just do us one favor," Tom Henderson called out. "Marry that woman so we can stop gossiping about whether you will." Laughter rippled through the church. William's ears went red. But when he glanced at Eleanor, something sparked in his eyes. "I'm working on it," he said quietly. The church erupted in cheers. After the service, Victor Crane was waiting outside. He stood by a fancy carriage, impeccable in a dark coat, watching the Dawsons emerge with an expression that made Eleanor's skin crawl. "Heartwarming," Crane said. "Truly. The power of community and all that." "What do you want, Crane?" "Just to offer my Christmas wishes." Crane's smile didn't reach his eyes. "And to remind you that heartwarming sentiments don't pay debts. You still owe $400. You have until January 1st. "We'll have it." "Will you?" Crane stepped closer. "Let me make this simple, Dawson. That land of yours, it's worth more than you know. Railroads coming through this territory. They'll need right-of-way. Your ranch sits directly in the planned path." Eleanor's blood chilled. "That's what this is about. Smart woman." Crane turned his cold eyes on her. "The bank doesn't want your $400, Dawson. It wants your land. Sell it to me now voluntarily, and I'll give you a fair price, enough to start over somewhere else. And if I refuse, then on January 1st I take it anyway, and you get nothing." William stepped forward. His fists clenched. "Get off my property. This isn't your property yet. Remember that." Crane climbed into his carriage. "Enjoy your Christmas. It may be your last on this land." The carriage rolled away. Eleanor turned to William. His face was thunderous. $237 from the church, $105 from before. That's $342. $58 short. William's voice was flat. "And 6 days to find it." "We'll find it." "How?" There's nobody left to ask. We're tapped out. Eleanor's mind raced. There has to be something. Something we haven't thought of. The cattle. Clara's voice came from behind them. They turned. All 4 children stood there, having heard everything. Clara, William started. The cattle, Daddy. We still have 40 head. That's worth at least $100 if we sell to the right buyer. Sell our cattle? Then what do we live on? We rebuild. Clara's chin lifted. We keep the land. We keep the ranch. We start over. Isn't that better than losing everything? William stared at his daughter. This 12-year-old girl who had held the family together with sheer will. When did you get so smart? Had to. Someone wasn't paying attention. Despite everything, William almost smiled. All right, we sell the cattle. He looked at Eleanor. Together? Together. The next 5 days were a blur. William and Eleanor rode to Cheyenne, found a buyer willing to pay $85 for the herd. It was less than they were worth, but there was no time to negotiate. They returned exhausted but victorious. $427. More than enough. On the morning of December 31st, William walked into Victor Crane's bank with Eleanor at his side. He slapped $400 on the desk. Paid in full. Crane's face was a mask, but Eleanor saw the fury in his eyes. This doesn't change anything. The railroad can negotiate with me or go around. I ain't selling. You're making a mistake. No. William leaned forward. I've been making mistakes for 18 months. This ain't one of them. He took Eleanor's hand. My land, my family, my choice. And men like you don't get to take what's mine. Not today. Not ever. They walked out together. The winter sun hit their faces, bright, warm, full of promise. We did it, Eleanor breathed. We actually did it. We did it. William pulled her into an embrace, right there on the street, in front of God and everyone. People are watching, she murmured. Let them watch. He pulled back just enough to see her face. I've spent too long hiding. From grief, from life, from everything that matters. I'm done hiding. William, I know I said I wasn't ready. I know I said it was too soon. His voice was rough with emotion, but nearly losing everything made me realize I don't want to wait anymore. I don't want to be careful. I want to live. Eleanor's heart hammered. What are you saying? I'm saying. He took a breath. I'm saying, I want you to stay. Not as a helper or a partner or whatever we've been calling it. I want you to stay as my wife, if you'll have me. Tears slipped down Eleanor's cheeks. She couldn't stop them. That sounded like a proposal. It was a terrible one. I should have gotten a ring. Should have done it proper. I don't need proper. She cupped his face. I just need you. Is that a yes? That's a yes. William kissed her. Not gentle, not tentative. A kiss that said everything words couldn't. Somewhere behind them, a woman gasped. A man whistled. Neither of them cared. When they finally broke apart, William was smiling. Really smiling. The shadows that had lived in his eyes for 18 months finally starting to fade. Let's go home, he said. Let's tell the children. They'll be insufferable, you know that. Clara will say she planned this all along. She did plan this all along. Eleanor laughed. I suppose she did. Hand in hand, they walked to the wagon. Behind them, Victor Crane watched from his bank window. His face was stone. This wasn't over. But that was a problem for another day. Today there was only joy. The children's reaction was everything Eleanor had hoped for. Rosie screamed so loud the chickens scattered. Benjamin whooped and ran circles around the kitchen. Even Hannah smiled, really smiled for the first time since Eleanor had arrived. But it was Clara who surprised her most. The girl walked up slowly, studied Eleanor's face, then burst into tears. Clara, Eleanor reached for her. "What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong." Clara threw her arms around Eleanor's waist. "Everything's finally right." William gathered them all close, his arms around his children, his eyes on Eleanor. "We're going to be a family," he said. "A real one, together." "When's the wedding?" Benjamin demanded. "Tomorrow." "Not tomorrow." Eleanor laughed. "These things take planning." "January," William decided. "Soon as the new year settles. Give folks time to get here." "That's only 2 weeks." "Then we better start planning." The cabin filled with noise. Questions, suggestions, arguments about who would do what. Normal family chaos. Eleanor stood in the middle of it, overwhelmed. This was real. This was happening. She was going to marry William Dawson. The first week of January passed in a whirlwind. Eleanor spent hours with Maggie planning the ceremony, the reception, the 100 small details that weddings required. Clara appointed herself Eleanor's assistant, handling tasks with fierce efficiency. The town, it seemed, had embraced the match. Neighbors stopped by with gifts. Women offered to help with the dress. Men slapped William's back and made jokes about ending his bachelor days. Everything was perfect. Too perfect. Eleanor felt it first as a prickle at the back of her neck. Conversations that stopped when she entered rooms, glances exchanged behind her back. She told herself she was imagining things. Until the day Martha Preston crossed the street to avoid her. "Did you see that?" Eleanor turned to Maggie. "She walked right past like I wasn't there." Maggie's face was grim. "I was hoping you wouldn't notice." "Notice what? What's going on?" "Come inside. We need to talk." The back room of the general store was quiet. Private. Maggie closed the door with unusual care. "There's talk going around. About you." Eleanor's stomach dropped. "What kind of talk?" "The kind that ruins people." Maggie sat heavily. "Someone's been spreading rumors, saying you ain't who you claim to be, that you're a con woman who targets widowers, that you've done this before in other towns." "That's insane. That's—" "I know it ain't true, but not everyone does." "Who's saying these things?" Maggie met her eyes. "Who do you think?" "Victor Crane." Eleanor's blood went cold. "He can't just— People don't believe this, do they? Some do, some don't. But the seed's been planted." Maggie leaned forward. "He's been showing around some kind of document. Says it proves you were arrested in Pennsylvania. Fraud charges." "I've never been arrested in my life." "I believe you. But paper's a powerful thing. People see official-looking documents, they start to wonder." Eleanor's hands shook. "I have to tell William." "He's going to hear soon enough. Better it comes from you." Eleanor ran the whole way home. She burst through the door to find William at the table, a piece of paper in his hands. His face was stone. "William, is it true?" The words hit her like bullets. "Is what true? Whatever that paper says. Are you Eleanor Brennan, or are you Margaret Ellis, wanted for fraud in 3 states? I don't know anyone named Margaret Ellis. I've never committed fraud, William. You have to believe me." He looked up. His eyes were red, confused, hurt. "Crane brought this himself, an hour ago. Said he was doing me a favor, warning me about the woman I was about to marry." "And you believed him after everything he's done?" "I don't know what to believe." William slammed the paper down. "I don't know anything about you, Eleanor. You showed up on a stagecoach 2 weeks ago, based on letters my children wrote. For all I know. For all you know what I'm a criminal, a con woman targeting your vast fortune. Don't mock me. Then don't insult me." Eleanor's voice shook with fury. "I told you my story. Every word was true. I was a widow in Philadelphia. I answered an advertisement. I came here with nothing but hope. Crane says Crane is a liar who wants your land." Eleanor grabbed the paper, looked at it. "This isn't even my name. This photograph isn't me. Look at it, William. Really look." William took the paper back, studied it. The woman in the photograph had dark hair, sharp features, nothing like Eleanor. He forged this, Eleanor said. He's desperate. You beat him at his own game, and now he's trying to destroy us another way. But why would he? Because men like Crane can't stand to lose. Because he wants your land, and he'll do anything to get it. Because hurting us is the only power he has left. William was silent for a long moment. Then he crumpled the paper in his fist. I'm sorry. His voice broke. I saw this and I got scared. After Sarah, after everything I couldn't. You couldn't trust again. I wanted to. I want to. But the fear that I'll disappear, that you'll lose me like you lost her. He nodded miserably. Eleanor crossed to him, took his face in her hands. I'm not going anywhere. Not because of Victor Crane. Not because of rumors. Not for anything. How can you be so sure? Because I spent 3 years alone. Because I know what it's like to have nothing, and no one. Because I finally found something worth fighting for, and I'll be damned if I let some banker take it from me. William pulled her close, held her like she might disappear. I'm sorry, he whispered again. I should have trusted you. Yes, you should have. She pulled back to look at him. But I understand why you didn't. Just don't make that mistake again. I won't, I swear it. Good. Eleanor took a breath. Now, how do we fight back? The answer came from an unexpected source. Hannah appeared at the top of the stairs. She'd been listening. Her face was white. The sketchbook. What? William turned. My sketchbook. The one with all the drawings of Mama. Hannah descended slowly. I drew other things too. Things I saw around town. People. Places. Hannah, what are you saying? The girl met her father's eyes. I was in town 3 days ago, outside Mr. Crane's office. I saw him talking to a man, a stranger. They were looking at papers. The stranger was practicing writing something. Eleanor's breath caught. Practicing writing? The same thing over and over. I drew it. Hannah opened her sketchbook, flipped to a page. I didn't know what it meant, but I drew it anyway. The sketch showed 2 figures, a tall man in a fine coat, clearly Crane, and a smaller man hunched over a desk pen in hand. Below the figures, Hannah had copied what the man was writing. The name, Margaret Ellis. My God. Eleanor stared at the drawing. He hired someone to forge the documents. I watched them for a while, Hannah continued. The stranger had a whole stack of papers. Crane told him to make it look official. I heard him say that. William grabbed his daughter's shoulders. Hannah, are you sure about this? I'm sure, Daddy. I know what I saw. This is evidence. Eleanor's mind raced. Real evidence. If we can find that forger, get him to testify. We don't need the forger. William's voice had gone hard. We just need to show this to the right people. Who? Reverend Whitfield, Judge Morrison, the whole damn town if we have to. He turned to Hannah. Sweetheart, you may have just saved this family. Hannah's eyes filled with tears. Really? Really? She launched herself into his arms. William held her tight, his own eyes wet. I'm sorry I was mean to Miss Eleanor, Hannah whispered. I was scared she'd try to replace Mama. Nobody could replace your Mama, William said. But that don't mean there ain't room for someone new. Hannah pulled back, looked at Eleanor. I'd like it if you were my Mama too, if that's okay. Eleanor's heart cracked open. It's more than okay, sweetheart. It's everything. The town meeting was Maggie's idea. You can't fight rumors one person at a time, she declared. You gotta address everyone at once. Show them the evidence. Let them make up their own minds. Reverend Whitfield agreed to host it at the church. Word spread fast. By sundown, half the town was packed into the pews. Victor Crane was there too, sitting in the back, smug smile firmly in place. He thought he'd won. He was wrong. William stood at the front, Eleanor beside him, the children in the first row with Maggie. "Thank you all for coming." William's voice carried through the church. "I know there's been talk about Miss Brennan, about documents and accusations." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. "Let me tell you what I know." William held up the forged paper. "This document claims to be evidence that Eleanor Brennan is a criminal named Margaret Ellis. It looks official. It's got stamps and signatures and all the things that make something seem real." He paused. "It's a lie." More murmurs, louder now. "The woman in this photograph ain't Eleanor. The name ain't hers. The crimes listed never happened." He turned to face Crane directly. "This document was forged, right here in Elk Creek, 3 days ago." Crane's smile faltered. "That's a serious accusation, Dawson." "I got proof." William gestured to Hannah. "My daughter saw the forgery happening, outside your office. She drew what she saw." Hannah stood, walked forward with her sketchbook, handed it to Reverend Whitfield. The Reverend studied the drawing. His face went pale. "This is quite detailed," he said slowly. 2 figures, one of them clearly recognizable as Mr. Crane, and a name being written repeatedly, Margaret Ellis. The congregation erupted. "That proves nothing." Crane was on his feet now. "A child's drawing, that could be anything." "Then explain why you was meeting with a stranger who was practicing writing a name that just happened to appear on a document you brought to my house." William's voice was steel. "Explain why you want my land so bad you'd ruin an innocent woman to get it." "This is slander. This is truth." Eleanor stepped forward. "Mr. Crane wants the Dawson Ranch because the railroad is coming through. He told William himself the land is worth more than any of us knew. He tried to foreclose. That failed. Now he's trying to destroy me." "She's lying," Crane pointed at Eleanor. "She's a con artist. She's going to be my wife." William moved to stand beside her. "And if any man in this room has something to say about that, he can say it to my face." Silence. Then Tom Henderson stood up. "I've known William Dawson for 15 years. He's a good man, an honest man. If he says this woman is true, that's good enough for me." "Me too." Doc Porter rose. "Seen her with those children, way she cares for them. That ain't the behavior of a con woman." One by one people stood. Farmers, shopkeepers, wives and mothers, standing for Eleanor, standing against Crane. The banker looked around the church. His face had gone gray. "This isn't over," he snarled. "Yes, it is." Reverend Whitfield's voice was cold. "Mr. Crane, I suggest you leave. Now, before this congregation decides to discuss your business practices in more detail." For a moment, Crane didn't move. Then Maggie stood up. "I got records of every loan you've called in early. Every family you've pushed off their land. Every dirty trick you've pulled in this territory. You want me to start reading them out loud?" Crane turned and walked out. The door slammed behind him, and the church burst into applause. The celebration at the general store lasted until midnight. People who'd avoided Eleanor for days now pressed forward to shake her hand, apologize, offer their support. The shift was almost too fast to process, but William was at her side the whole time, steady, present, his hand finding hers whenever the crowd threatened to separate them. "You did good today," Maggie told her during a quiet moment. "Stood your ground, didn't flinch. I had help. That's what families are for." Maggie glanced at the children who were being spoiled with cookies and attention. "Speaking of which, them kids adore you. The feeling's mutual." "Good." Maggie lowered her voice. "Because what happened today with the rumors and all, that ain't gonna be the last hard thing. Marriage is work. Raising children is harder. There'll be days you want to quit." "I know. Do you?" Eleanor looked at William across the room. He was laughing at something Tom Henderson said, really laughing. The sound filled her with warmth. "I've spent 3 years alone," she said quietly. wishing for exactly this. A family, a home, someone who looks at me like I matter. He looks at you like you hung the moon. I look at him the same way. Maggie smiled. Then you'll be fine. The walk home was quiet. The children had fallen asleep in the wagon. William drove slowly, carefully, the way he did when he was thinking. You're quiet, Eleanor said. Just thinking about today. About how close we came to losing everything. But we didn't. No. He glanced at her. Because of you. Because you didn't run. Any sane person would have. After what Crane did, the rumors, the way people looked at you. I told you. I'm not going anywhere. William was quiet for a moment. Then, Sarah would have liked you. Eleanor's breath caught. He rarely spoke of Sarah, and never like this directly without pain clouding his voice. You think so? I know so. She was fierce like you, stubborn, refused to let anyone push her around. He smiled softly. She'd be glad the kids have someone like you. Thank you, William. That means more than you know. There's something I want to show you when we get home. What is it? You'll see. The cabin was dark when they arrived. William carried the sleeping children inside while Eleanor lit lamps. One by one the kids were settled in their beds, tucked in with gentle hands, and whispered goodnights. Then William led Eleanor to the main room. He crossed to the mantel, reached behind a stack of books, pulled out a small wooden box. Sarah's things, he said. I put them away after she died. Couldn't bear to look at them. He opened the box. Inside was a locket, gold worn with age, a photograph inside a young woman with kind eyes. This was hers, her grandmother's before that. William lifted it carefully. She wore it every day of our marriage. Told me once it was the most precious thing she owned. It's beautiful. I want you to have it. Eleanor stepped back. William, I can't. You can. He caught her hand. You're going to be mother to her children. Wife in her house. That don't mean replacing her. It means continuing. Building on what she started. But the children want you to have it. I asked them this morning. He pressed the locket into her palm. Clara said Mama would have wanted it. That you're family now, and family shares what matters. Eleanor stared at the locket. Tears slipped down her cheeks. I don't know what to say. Say you'll wear it. Say you'll be part of this family, all of it, including the parts that came before. She looked up at him. This man who'd been so broken when she arrived, who'd hidden in grief and pushed everyone away. He was reaching out now, opening doors that had been closed for years. I'll wear it. She clasped the locket around her neck. I'll honor it, and I'll tell your children about their mother every day so they never forget her. William's eyes glistened. That's all I could ask. He kissed her then, soft, reverent, a promise sealed. The wedding was set for January 15th. The next few days were chaos. Dress fittings with Maggie, menu planning with Clara, decorations assembled by every child old enough to help. Eleanor had never felt so busy, so needed, so alive. But beneath the joy, something nagged at her. Victor Crane had been too quiet. After the church meeting, he'd vanished. His bank remained open, but no one had seen him in town. His carriage didn't rattle down Main Street anymore. Maybe he left, Clara suggested. Maybe he knows he's beaten. Men like Crane don't give up that easy. Maggie's voice was grim. He's planning something. What can he do? The whole town knows the truth now. The truth don't matter to men like him. Only winning. Eleanor tried to shake off the unease, tried to focus on the wedding, on the future, on the life she was building. But the night before the ceremony, she couldn't sleep. She slipped downstairs, found William awake too, sitting by the fire with a cup of coffee gone cold. You too? She asked. Can't shut my mind off. She sat beside him. took his hand. Tomorrow we'll be married. Tomorrow. He said it like he still couldn't believe it. 2 weeks ago, you were a stranger on a stagecoach. Now you're going to be my wife. Strange how life works. Strange and wonderful. He turned to face her. Eleanor, I need to tell you something. What is it? I was angry when you first arrived. Angry at my children for what they'd done. Angry at you for existing. Angry at the world for expecting me to feel anything when I was so numb I could barely breathe. I know. But every day you were here, you chipped away at that numbness. You made me feel things again. Good things. Scary things. He gripped her hand tighter. I started to remember what it was like to hope. William, let me finish. I need to say this before tomorrow. He took a breath. I loved Sarah with everything I had. When she died, I thought love was over for me. I thought my heart was buried in that grave with her. His voice cracked. But you showed me I was wrong. Hearts don't die. They just wait for someone brave enough to wake them up. Eleanor's tears fell freely now. You woke me up, Eleanor. You brought me back to my children, back to my life, back to myself. He cupped her face. I love you. Not instead of Sarah, alongside her memory. And I will spend the rest of my life trying to deserve you. You already deserve me. Eleanor pressed her forehead to his. You just didn't know it. They held each other in the firelight. Two broken people who'd found their way to something whole. Tomorrow they would marry. Tomorrow they would be a family. But tonight, this moment was enough. The morning of January 15th dawned clear and cold. Eleanor dressed with Clara's help, wearing a simple blue dress that Maggie had altered. The locket hung around her neck. Sarah's locket. Now hers too. You look beautiful, Clara whispered. I'm terrified. So is Daddy. He's been pacing for an hour. Eleanor laughed. Good, I'm not the only one. The church was full, every seat taken. People standing along the walls. The whole community had come to witness this union. William stood at the altar, looking handsome and nervous in his Sunday best. His eyes found Eleanor the moment she appeared at the door. Everything else fell away. She walked toward him. Toward their future. Toward home. Reverend Whitfield smiled as she reached the altar. Dearly beloved, we are gathered here. The church door slammed open. Everyone turned. Victor Crane stood in the doorway. Behind him, 3 men in official-looking uniforms. Sorry to interrupt. Crane's voice dripped with satisfaction. But I'm afraid this wedding can't take place. William stepped forward. Get out of my church. It's not your church, and this isn't about you. Crane pointed at Eleanor. It's about her. Miss Eleanor Brennan, or should I say Mrs. Eleanor Clark. Eleanor's blood turned to ice. That's right. Crane smiled. I did some digging. Real digging, not forgeries. Your husband, Daniel Clark, didn't die in a mining accident 3 years ago. He died 6 months ago, in a prison in Ohio, where he was serving time for embezzlement. The congregation gasped. And the best part? Crane moved closer. The money he embezzled was never recovered. $20,000. Vanished. Some people think his wife might know where it went. That's not true. Eleanor's voice shook. Daniel died 3 years ago. I received the telegram. You received a telegram saying he was dead, but he wasn't. He faked his death to avoid creditors, spent 3 years on the run before they caught him. I didn't know. Didn't you? Because these gentlemen, Crane gestured to the men behind him, are Pinkerton agents, and they have some questions for you. The lead agent stepped forward. Mrs. Clark, you need to come with us. No. William moved in front of Eleanor. You ain't taking her anywhere. This isn't your concern, Mr. Dawson. She's about to be my wife. That makes it my concern. William. Eleanor put a hand on his arm. Don't. I ain't letting them. Listen to me. She turned him to face her. I didn't know Daniel was alive. I swear it. The telegram said he died. I mourned him. I moved on. I believe you. Then trust me now. Let me go with them. Answer their questions. I have nothing to hide. Eleanor, if you fight this, they'll arrest you too. Then who'll take care of the children? William's jaw worked. Every instinct screamed at him to protect her, to fight, to refuse. But she was right. Fine. The word tasted like poison. But I'm coming with you. No, stay here. Finish the service without me. Eleanor's voice cracked. Tell the children I love them. Tell them I'll be back. You will be back. William gripped her hands. I'll make sure of it. I know. She kissed him quickly, desperately. I know you will. The agents took her arms, led her toward the door. Crane watched with undisguised glee. Such a shame, he said as she passed. You almost had it all. Eleanor stopped, looked him in the eye. This isn't over. No, Crane agreed. But for you, I think it is. They took her out of the church. William stood at the altar, fists clenched, helpless. Behind him, 4 children began to cry. And outside, the January sun shone cold and indifferent on a wedding that would never be. The Pinkerton agents took Eleanor to the jail in Cheyenne. 3 days she sat in that cold cell. 3 days of questions. 3 days of explaining the same thing over and over. She hadn't known Daniel was alive. The telegram had come. She'd mourned. She'd moved on. But the agents kept pushing. $20,000, Mrs. Clark. That's a lot of money to disappear. I don't know anything about it. I was a seamstress. Daniel handled the finances. And you never noticed anything unusual? Never wondered where the money came from? I trusted my husband. Eleanor's voice cracked. I was a fool for that. But I wasn't a criminal. The lead agent, a hard-faced man named Marshall, studied her for a long moment. Your story checks out. The timeline, the telegram, all of it. You really didn't know. I've been telling you that for 3 days. Here's the problem. Marshall leaned forward. Your husband had a partner, someone who helped him move the money, hide it, keep it safe. We never found that partner, and Victor Crane seems very certain it was you. Victor Crane is a liar who wants my fiancé's land. Maybe, but he's also the one who tipped us off about your husband, gave us documents, records, things we'd been looking for years. Marshall's eyes narrowed. Makes me wonder what he's getting out of this. Eleanor went still. What do you mean? I mean, Crane didn't come to us out of civic duty. Man like that always wants something. He stood. Sit tight, Mrs. Clark. I've got some digging to do. He left her alone in the cell. Eleanor pressed her hands to her face, tried to think. Daniel. Alive all those years. Running from the law while she scraped by in boarding houses, taking in sewing, barely surviving. Had he ever thought of her? Ever felt guilt for abandoning her to poverty? She'd never know. He was dead now. Really dead. But his ghost was still haunting her. Back in Elk Creek, William was losing his mind. 3 days. He paced Maggie's store like a caged animal. 3 days and no word. No nothing. The law takes time, William. The law is wrong. She didn't do anything. I know that. You know that. But proving it. I should be there. I should be with her. And who'd watch the children? William stopped, ran his hands through his hair. The children. They'd barely spoken since the wedding. Clara had retreated into herself. Hannah wouldn't eat. Benjamin had thrown a rock through Crane's bank window and had to be dragged home by Doc Porter. Rosie cried herself to sleep every night calling for Miss Eleanor. I'm failing them. William's voice broke. Again. You ain't failing nobody. You're fighting for your family. That's what matters. Then why does it feel like losing? Maggie had no answer for that. The door burst open. Clara ran in breathless. Daddy! The telegraph office. There's a message. William was out the door before she finished speaking. The telegram was short. Eleanor Brennan cleared of all charges. Stop. New evidence implicates Victor Crane. Stop. Returning Elk Creek tomorrow. Stop. Marshall Pinkerton. William read it 3 times. Then he let out a sound that was half laugh, half sob. She's coming home. Let me see that. Maggie snatched the paper. Read it. Her eyes widened. New evidence implicates Victor Crane. I don't care about Crane. I care about Eleanor. You should care about Crane. Maggie's voice was sharp. Because if he's been implicated, that means something big just happened. What do you mean? I mean, maybe we finally got that snake where we want him. The stagecoach arrived at noon the next day. Half the town had gathered to watch. Word traveled fast in Elk Creek. William stood at the front of the crowd, children pressed close. His heart hammered so loud he could barely think. The coach door opened. Eleanor stepped out. She looked exhausted, pale, thinner than before. But when she saw William, her face transformed. William. He crossed the distance in 3 strides, swept her into his arms, held her like he'd never let go. I'm sorry. His voice was muffled against her hair. I'm so sorry. I should have protected you. You couldn't have stopped them. I should have tried harder. William. She pulled back to look at him. I'm here. I'm free. That's what matters. The children swarmed them then. Rosie attached herself to Eleanor's leg. Benjamin wrapped his arms around her waist. Hannah clung to her hand. And Clara stood back, tears streaming, unable to speak. Eleanor reached for her, pulled her close. I'm not leaving, she whispered. I promised, remember, I'm not going anywhere. Clara broke, sobbed against Eleanor's shoulder like the child she finally allowed herself to be. The crowd parted. Agent Marshall stepped forward. Behind him, 2 deputies, and between them, in handcuffs, walked Victor Crane. What is this? William stared. Justice. Marshall's voice was grim. Mr. Crane here has been busy. Turns out he was Daniel Clark's partner, the one we've been looking for. The crowd gasped. That's a lie. Crane struggled against the deputies. This is absurd. We found the records, Crane, hidden in your bank. $20,000 laundered through property deals across 3 territories. You've been using stolen money to buy up land for years. You can't prove. We can. And we will. Marshall turned to the crowd. Victor Crane is under arrest for fraud, embezzlement, and conspiracy. He'll be transported to federal prison to await trial. William stepped forward, his fists clenched. You tried to destroy her, to destroy my family. I did what I had to do. Crane's voice was venomous. You think you've won? You think this changes anything? Men like me don't lose. I'll be out in a year. And when I am, you'll find a different town to terrorize. Marshall jerked Crane's arm. This one's done with you. They led him away. The crowd watched in stunned silence. Then someone started clapping. The applause spread, grew, became a roar of approval and relief. Eleanor leaned against William. It's over. Almost. He looked down at her. There's still one thing we need to do. What's that? William smiled. Finish what we started. The second wedding attempt happened 3 days later. Same church, same reverend, same community packed into every pew. But this time, nothing interrupted. Eleanor walked down the aisle in the blue dress Maggie had altered. Sarah's locket hung around her neck. Her hand trembled slightly as she reached for William's. Dearly beloved, Reverend Whitfield began, we are gathered here today to join this man and this woman in holy matrimony. William couldn't stop staring at Eleanor. Couldn't believe she was really here. Really his. Do you, William Dawson, take Eleanor Brennan to be your lawfully wedded wife, to have and to hold from this day forward, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, until death do you part? I do. His voice didn't waver. And do you, Eleanor Brennan, take William Dawson to be your lawfully wedded husband, to have and to hold from this day forward, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, until death do you part? Eleanor looked at this man. This broken, stubborn, beautiful man who'd opened his heart again, despite everything. I do. Then by the power vested in me, I pronounce you husband and wife. Reverend Whitfield smiled. You may kiss the bride. William cupped Eleanor's face. Kissed her gently at first, then deeper, as the church erupted in cheers. When they finally broke apart, Rosie's voice rang out clear and bright. Does this mean she's our mama now for real? Laughter rippled through the congregation. For real, William confirmed. Forever. The reception lasted until midnight. Dancing, singing. Food that seemed to multiply every time Eleanor looked away. The whole town had contributed, turning Maggie's store into a celebration hall. Eleanor danced with Benjamin, who stepped on her toes and blushed furiously. She danced with Tom Henderson, who told her Sarah would be proud. She danced with Doc Porter, who gave her advice about frontier medicine that she hoped she'd never need. And she danced with William, again and again returning to his arms like a compass finding north. Happy, he murmured against her hair. Terrified. He pulled back concerned. Why? Because I've never been this happy, and I keep waiting for something to go wrong. Things will go wrong. They always do. William's eyes were warm. But we'll face them together now. That's the difference. Promise? I promise. Clara appeared at Eleanor's elbow. Daddy, can I steal your wife for a minute? She's not going anywhere. Take your time. Clara led Eleanor to a quiet corner. I have something for you. The girl pulled a folded paper from her pocket. I wrote it myself. It's not as good as the letters I forged, but... Clara. Just read it, please. Eleanor unfolded the paper. Dear Miss Eleanor. Not Miss Eleanor anymore. Mama Eleanor. That's what Rosie's been calling you since you came home. Mama Eleanor. It sounds right. I want to say thank you. Not just for staying when you could have run. Not just for loving us when we were strangers. But for saving my daddy. You see, he was disappearing. Every day a little more. And I was so scared that one morning I'd wake up and he'd be gone too, just like Mama. Not dead, but not alive either. Just empty. I wrote those letters because I didn't know what else to do. I prayed someone would answer. Someone brave enough to love a broken family. You answered. And now my daddy laughs again. My sisters smile. My brother doesn't throw things anymore. And I can finally be 12 instead of pretending to be grown. I don't know if you believe in angels, Mama Eleanor, but I do. And I think God sent you to us. Thank you for coming. Thank you for staying. Thank you for being our miracle. Love your daughter, Clara. Eleanor couldn't see through her tears. She pulled Clara into a fierce hug. I love you, she whispered. All of you. More than I knew I could love anyone. We love you too, Mama. The word hit Eleanor's heart like a lightning bolt. Mama. Not Miss Eleanor, not even Ellie. Mama. She'd waited her whole life to hear that word. The party finally wound down. Neighbors departed with hugs and well wishes. The children were carried home half asleep, tucked into beds with kisses on foreheads. And then it was just William and Eleanor, alone, married. I should be nervous, Eleanor said. Why aren't I nervous? Because this is right. William took her hand. Because we've been building toward this since the day you stepped off that stagecoach. That feels like a lifetime ago. It was a lifetime ago. We're different people now. Better people. I hope so. He led her toward their bedroom now not just his. I've got something to show you. The room had been transformed. Fresh flowers on the dresser, new curtains on the windows. A quilt Eleanor had never seen, beautiful, intricate, clearly made with love. The women in town made it, William explained. Wedding gift. Every family contributed a square. Eleanor ran her fingers over the fabric. recognized scraps from Maggie's store, from the Henderson farm, from a dozen homes that had welcomed her into their community. "It's beautiful. You're beautiful." She turned to find William watching her with an expression that made her breath catch. "I'm scared," she admitted. "I was married before, but this feels different." "Because it is different." He crossed to her, took her hands. "Daniel didn't deserve you. I aim to be different. You already are." "Then let me show you." He kissed her forehead. "We don't have to rush. We've got the rest of our lives." "The rest of our lives." Eleanor smiled. "I like the sound of that." 3 months passed. Spring came to Wyoming Territory. Snow melted into mud, then into green. The world woke up, and so did the Dawson family. Eleanor found her rhythm. Up before dawn to start breakfast. Lessons with the children in the morning. Afternoon chores alongside Clara, who was finally learning to be a child instead of a parent. Evenings by the fire reading or sewing or just talking. William worked the ranch with renewed energy. He'd bought back some cattle from a neighboring ranch, hired a hand to help with the heavy work, started planning for the future instead of just surviving the present. And the children bloomed. Rosie chattered constantly now, her shyness forgotten. Benjamin had channeled his energy into building things: a birdhouse, a shelf for Eleanor's books, a wobbly stool that everyone pretended was sturdy. Hannah still drew every day, but her subjects had changed. Less of Sarah, more of Eleanor, more of their new life. And Clara. Clara had finally put down the weight she'd been carrying. She laughed, she played. She let herself need things instead of always providing them. "You've changed her," William said one evening, watching Clara chase Rosie across the yard. "We changed each other." "I'm serious, Eleanor. She was drowning. We all were. And you—" "I just loved her, that's all. That's everything." He pulled her close, kissed her hair. "I don't tell you enough how grateful I am, how happy you've made me. You tell me every day. Not with words." "Words aren't the only way to say things." He smiled against her hair. "Reckon you're right about that." The letter arrived in April. William brought it in from town, his face troubled. "It's from Philadelphia, addressed to you." Eleanor took the envelope with steady hands. She didn't recognize the handwriting. Inside was a single page. "Mrs. Dawson. You don't know me. My name is Thomas Bradford. I was Daniel Clark's attorney during his trial and incarceration. I'm writing to inform you that before his death, Daniel left instructions regarding certain assets, specifically a sum of money deposited in a private account in your name. The amount is substantial, approximately $15,000. Daniel's final words to me were, 'Tell her I'm sorry. Tell her this is the least I can do.' I understand this must come as a shock. If you wish to claim the funds, please contact my office at your convenience. Respectfully, Thomas Bradford Escalier." Eleanor read the letter 3 times. Then she sat down hard. "What is it?" William took the paper. "Read it." His face went through shock, confusion, anger. $15,000. The embezzled money. He must have set some aside before he was caught. "For you. I don't know. Maybe. Maybe it was guilt." Eleanor's voice was hollow. "All those years I scraped by, barely surviving, and he had money hidden away. Are you going to take it?" "I don't know if I can. It's stolen money." "From whom?" Eleanor paused. "That was the question, wasn't it? I need to find out before I decide anything." William nodded slowly. "Whatever you choose, I'm with you. Even if I take it. Even if you burn it." He sat beside her. "That money's your past. Your choice what to do with it." The investigation took weeks. Eleanor wrote letters, made inquiries, hired an attorney of her own paid for by Maggie, who refused to take no for an answer. The answer, when it came, was complicated. Daniel had embezzled from a railroad company that had gone bankrupt years ago. The company no longer existed. The investors had already been paid out from insurance claims. Legally, the money belonged to no one. "It's yours," the attorney confirmed. "Free and clear. No one can contest it." Eleanor sat with that knowledge for days. $15,000. Enough to transform their lives. New equipment for the ranch. Education for the children. Security she'd never known. But it came from betrayal. From a man who'd abandoned her. From crimes that had hurt people she'd never know. She made her decision on a Sunday morning. "I want to give it away." William looked up from his coffee. All of it. Not all, but most. Eleanor had been up all night making lists. The church needs repairs. The school needs books. Doc Porter's been treating folks on credit for years. Maggie's been feeding half the town out of her own pocket. You want to spread it around. "I want it to do good, to heal something instead of just sitting in a bank." She met his eyes. "Is that foolish?" "It's generous, but this community gave everything they had to save our ranch. Maybe it's time we gave something back." "What about the children's future, their education?" "We'll keep enough for that, and for emergencies." William took her hands. "But you're right. This money came from sin. Maybe using it for good is the best way to redeem it." "You're not disappointed. We could be rich, William." "We are rich." His voice was soft. "We've got each other. We've got the children. We've got a home and a community and a future. That's more wealth than I ever expected." Eleanor's eyes filled. "I love you." "I know." He smiled. "I love you too." The town meeting was held in the church. Eleanor stood at the front nervous as she'd been on her wedding day. "Most of you know my story by now. How I came here. What happened with Victor Crane. What came out about my first husband." Nods around the room, patient faces, willing to listen. "What you don't know is that Daniel left money behind. Money that technically belongs to me now. $15,000. Gasps. Murmurs. "I've thought long and hard about what to do with it, and I've decided that the best use of blood money is to wash it clean." She unfolded her list. "I want to donate to the church repair fund, to the school for new books and supplies, to establish a fund for Doc Porter so he can treat anyone who needs it, whether they can pay or not." More murmurs, louder now. "I want to help the Henderson family rebuild their barn properly this time. I want to set up a widow's fund so no woman in this town ever has to face what I faced alone, broke desperate." She looked around the room, at faces she'd come to know, at neighbors who'd become family. "You all saved us. When we were about to lose everything, you gave what you had. You stood up for me when I was accused. You welcomed me when I was a stranger." Her voice cracked. "This is my way of saying thank you, of making sure this community stays strong for generations to come." Silence. Then Maggie stood up. "Girl, I've lived in this town 60 years. I've seen floods and droughts and bad men and worse winters, but I ain't never seen anything like what you just did." She started clapping. Others joined, one by one, until the whole church thundered with applause. Eleanor looked at William standing in the back with their children. He was crying. So was she. Summer came. Eleanor's donations transformed the town. The church got a new roof. The school got books, real books shipped all the way from Philadelphia. Doc Porter opened a proper clinic. The Widows Fund helped 3 families through hard times, and the Dawson Ranch thrived. New cattle, new equipment, a proper addition to the cabin so the children didn't have to share rooms anymore. But the best changes weren't visible. Hannah had started teaching art to the younger children in town. Benjamin was helping William with the cattle, learning the trade, finding purpose. Clara was just being 12, reading books, giggling with friends, dreaming about the future. And Rosie never stopped calling Eleanor Mama. One evening in August, Eleanor sat on the porch with William. The children were inside their voices a comfortable hum. "I've been thinking," William said. About what? About the letters. The ones Clara wrote. Eleanor smiled. What about them? She wrote that I was ready to love again, that I had room in my heart. He turned to face her. I didn't believe it then. I thought I was too broken. And now I know she was right. There's always room. Heart's not a fixed thing, it grows. Makes space for new people, new love. He took her hand. I loved Sarah with everything I had. And then she was gone, and I thought that was it. End of story. But it wasn't. No, it was just the end of a chapter. His eyes were bright. You started a new one, a better one. We started it together. Yeah. He kissed her knuckles. We did. The door banged open. Rosie tumbled out, followed by her siblings. Mama Daddy Clara says there's going to be a shooting star tonight. Can we stay up and watch? Please, Benjamin added. We'll go straight to bed after. Eleanor looked at William. He looked at her. I reckon one late night won't hurt, William said. The children cheered. They gathered in the yard as darkness fell. Blankets spread on the grass. Hot cider in tin cups. The whole sky spread above them, endless and full of light. Rosie curled in Eleanor's lap. Benjamin lay beside William, asking questions about the stars. Hannah sketched the scene by lantern light. And Clara sat between her parents, finally at peace. There, Rosie pointed. I saw one. A streak of light crossed the sky. Make a wish, Eleanor whispered. Rosie squeezed her eyes shut. Her lips moved silently. What did you wish for? Benjamin demanded. Can't tell. Then it won't come true. That's just superstition. Is not, is to. Children. William's voice was mild. Both of you hush. They hushed. The stars wheeled overhead. The night grew cool. One by one the children drifted to sleep. William carried them inside while Eleanor tucked them in. Kisses on foreheads. Whispered goodnights. The simple rituals of a family. Their family. Later, lying in bed, Eleanor listened to the house settle around her. William. Thank you. For what? For letting me in. For giving me a chance. She turned to face him in the darkness. For choosing me. Didn't feel like a choice? His voice was sleepy content. Felt like fate. Like you were always supposed to be here. You don't believe in fate. Didn't. Starting to think I was wrong about a lot of things. She smiled. Me too. Silence settled between them. Comfortable, complete. Eleanor. Yes. The children asked me something today. About the future. About whether there might be more of them. Her breath caught. More children. It's all right if you don't want. I mean, 4 is plenty and you've got your hands full already. William. And I know it's soon and maybe we should wait and... William. He stopped rambling. I would love to have more children. With you. She found his hand in the darkness, placed it on her stomach. In fact, I was going to tell you tomorrow, but now seems as good a time as any. He went very still. Eleanor. Are you saying... I'm saying we're going to need that new addition sooner than we thought. You're... Yes. He made a sound she'd never heard before. Half sob, half laugh. All joy. A baby. We're having a baby. We are. He pulled her close. Held her like she was made of glass and gold. I love you, he whispered. I love you so much it scares me. Don't be scared. We've got each other now. Yeah. His voice was thick with tears. Yeah, we do. They lay together in the darkness. Outside, the stars continued their eternal dance. Inside, new life grew in secret, a promise of tomorrow. The next morning, they told the children. Rosie screamed so loud the chickens scattered again. Benjamin asked if it would be a boy because he was outnumbered. Hannah immediately started sketching a baby that wouldn't exist for months. And Clara. Clara cried. Happy tears. She insisted, wiping her face. I swear, happy tears. I know. Eleanor hugged her. I know, sweetheart. The whole town knew by noon. News traveled fast when there was joy to share. Maggie brought baby clothes she'd been saving for years. Doc Porter stopped by to check on Eleanor and stayed for dinner. Neighbors came with advice and well wishes and promises to help when the time came. Community, family, home, everything Eleanor had traveled 2,000 miles to find. Everything she'd almost lost. Everything she'd fight to keep. That evening, as the sun set over the Wyoming hills, Eleanor stood on the porch and looked at her life. A husband who loved her. 4 children, soon to be 5, who called her mama. A home built on hope and stubbornness and second chances. It wasn't the life she'd imagined when she boarded that stagecoach in Philadelphia. It was better. William came up behind her, wrapped his arms around her waist, rested his chin on her shoulder. What are you thinking about? Everything. Nothing. How strange life is. Strange how I came here because of lies, forged letters, desperate children. A man who didn't know I existed. She leaned back into his warmth. And somehow it became the truest thing I've ever known. Maybe that's how the best things work. Start as accidents. End as miracles. When did you become a philosopher? About the time I married a stubborn woman from Philadelphia. She laughed. He kissed her temple. The door opened. Children spilled out, full of energy and noise and life. Mama, can we have dessert before dinner? No. Daddy, tell her. Your mama said no. Groans, negotiations, the beautiful chaos of family. Eleanor looked at William. He looked at her. No more ghosts. No more grief. Just love, messy and complicated and absolutely worth it. Ready, he asked. For what? The rest of our lives. She took his hand. I've been ready since the day I stepped off that stagecoach. They walked inside together, the door closed behind them, shutting out the cold. But the warmth remained, and it always would, because Eleanor Brennan, Eleanor Dawson, now had finally found what she'd been searching for her whole life. Not a husband or a home or a place to belong, but a family, hers by choice, hers forever, hers.